Hello everybody, it's Gordon Henderson here with the Everhot, as ever. Today it's a regional delicacy day and we're going to be baking a lovely little thing which I was first exposed to some, a little over 30 years ago. So back then, in my mid-20s, I spent far too long at university in Edinburgh and decided to go south. Worked for a little engineering company in Gloucestershire, and a couple of days after there somebody said, "Oh, I'm going to do a bakery run." And they went out to a little local bakery and came back with this, which I'm going to show you in a minute, once I tell you about it. So, this is a lovely thing. It comes from Gloucestershire and Wiltshire. It's a speciality of the area. It's not the sort of thing that ladies who latte might appreciate. It's not a little dainty, buttery, melt in your mouth thing. It's not a flaky pastry thing that couples may enjoy over a cappuccino in a nice, comfortable, cosy cafe. And it's not the sort of thing that your bearded hipster with his big sourdough bread and leather satchel might have either. This is a Gloucestershire Lardy Cake, and its name is its description. It is lard and it is a cake, or it is a yeasted risen cake. We have caramelised sugar and lard on top. We have layers, not flakes, layers of enriched bread dough with fruit inside it. More sugar, more lard, and more unctuous loveliness. This is the stuff that farmers will have to do a harvest with. This is the stuff that foundry workers forging away at their great big forges, making Everhots possibly, might have. And Gloucestershire is a little bit special to me. It's where I first went to work after I left Edinburgh. It's also the home of the Everhot, Coley in Gloucestershire. It's the home of Shipton Mill, whose flour I like using. It's home of so many other lovely stuff. Now the town that I was living in is also the same town that my wife was living in, although we didn't meet each other for another 10 years or so. But that's just the way sometimes these things happen. Anyway, I'm going to show you how to make this lovely delicacy, and I hope you have a chance to try it and enjoy it, and let's see how we get on. See you in a bit. Okay, let's make a start on this this wonderful delight from the West Country. I've got everything weighed out in front of me. For this, I'm just going to throw it all in the bowl, put it in the stand mixer and let it mix it. If you want to do it by hand, you've got your flour, 500 grams of flour, rub in the butter, add in the yeast, salt and sugar, mix that in together, add in your liquid. This is the 220 mils of milk plus a large egg. Mix it to a sort of shaggy dough. Don't knead it at this stage. Cover it, leave it half an hour, tip it out, and then knead it for a good 5 to 10 minutes. You really want a nice smooth dough here. It's going to be quite stiff, but if you can do that kneading for 5 to 10 minutes after a half-hour rest, then you're going to produce a much better textured dough and bread at the end of the day. But I'm going to just throw it in the bowl here and let the mixer behind me do the hard work. So 220 mils, 220 grams of milk and 1 large egg, in like that. Butter, this is all sort of room temperature. I've warmed the milk and the egg ever so slightly. 50 grams of butter, 500 grams of flour, 50 grams of sugar, 8 grams of salt, 8 grams of 7 or 8 grams of yeast. That's a standard sachet of dried yeast. So let me put this on the mixer and I'll get back to you once it's mixed up. Going to start it nice and slow until everything's incorporated, and then I'll crank the speed up. I'm going to give it a good 5 minutes in the mixer, maybe even 10, just until we get a really nice smooth dough. Don't be afraid to stop the mixer and just give the sides a little scrape down with a plastic scraper. Okay, we'll come back in a few minutes once that's been kneaded and mixed up. Just remember, don't leave your stand mixer on its own when it's going at high speed, otherwise it will walk off the edge and fall on the floor. Okay, here we are. The dough is nicely mixed in the mixer. It's nice and soft and pliable. It's a little bit warm, which is good. If you are mixing this by hand and you don't have a stand mixer, once it's gotten to the shaggy stage and you've left it half an hour in the bowl, you tip it out. Here's a wee technique you can use. What I use is I use my thumbs, push away and fold back, push away, fold back. You will find that this will, if you form a roll, it will hurt your thumbs initially until your thumbs develop some extra muscles. Turn it round, push away, fold back, push and fold, or push and turn rather. And very quickly you'll find that this will come together and become quite a tight. And even now it's tightening up even after I've brought it out the mixer. But you can carry on doing that. You can leave it for a few minutes, come back to it, give it another knead, come back to it. It is quite a stiff dough. This will take a lot of work if you're doing it by hand. But there we go. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to put it back in the bowl. I'm going to cover it. I'm going to leave it until it's doubled in size. One of my trusty old shower caps here. Keep a little microclimate going inside there. We'll just stop it forming a skin over the top. And just going to leave it there for... I'll come back and check it in 45 minutes. But it'll maybe take 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on how warm it is, how cold it is. Meanwhile, make sure your main oven and your Everhot, we're going to bake this about 220 centigrade. Okay, we've now got a bowl full of nicely risen dough. It's taken just over an hour actually, about an hour and 10 minutes to get this far. It's not terribly warm in here today. It's been raining outside. It's a sort of day that you really want something warm and sticky and lardy inside you. So, got the perfect thing here. I'm going to a little bit of flour on our board because we're going to roll this out. Somewhere I've got a rolling pin. Rolling pin. We want to roll this out to about the size of our tray, and this is our tray, and there's our piece of dough. So let's just start by gently teasing it out. A little bit of flour on the top, not much. It shouldn't really stick. It's quite a well developed dough. Always turn it round on the table, make sure it's not going to stick to your bench. And if it does, you can just spray a tiny bit of flour on, lift it over and then keep it moving. How's that looking? Oh, not quite there yet. If you think it's going a funny shape, just turn it round and tease it out. This is not fine patisserie we're making here. This is lardy cake. And when we laminate the dough, no, it's not croissants. this lardy cake. So let's just have a quick look. That's, well, you know what, it's good enough. It's good enough for us. There we go, it's about 5mm thick, maybe a little bit more. Maybe we could use a slightly bigger tray, but should be enough, should be okay. So we're going to start with the lard. And you really want about sort of 2/3, maybe, yeah, maybe that's about 2/3, that, yeah, that's about 2/3. And the bottom 2/3, or the top 2/3, depending which way you decide to work, that's going to be the biggest part anyway. That's going to be our lard. So here's our lard. Lots of it. We're not going to skimp here. Let's start. Let's just do it. This has actually been warming up. It's a little bit warm, a little bit soft, which is great. Not so great sometimes, so we'll just spread it on. That will do for now. Let's put that over there. Give my hands a quick wipe down. Okay, on top of the lard goes the fruit. I got a mixture of raisins and currants today because that was all I could get. I think sultanas are my preferred, my favourite dried fruit. But today you can put anything you want. If you wanted to make it a little bit festive, you could use cranberries, they're quite popular. But basically anything that's there. Nice amount of fruit, yeah, nice amount of fruit. And then a generous amount of sugar. Okay, now the fun part. Let's fold this over about there. And then we're going to fold that over, but I'm going to put some more sugar. Actually, I'm going to put some more lard on that top part, just to spread the lardy love. There we go. More sugar there, why not? Now the fun part, we're going to fold this over, just like that. There we go. I'm just going to, I don't know what these scrapers do. Scrape this up. Put this off to one side. So you can see the recipe quantities aren't exactly exact. It's kind of, it's a bit of make it up as you go along. So let's roll this out a bit more. I'm going to fold this and then roll it again. So I might as well put that there. And just fold that over. Fold that up and just tuck these in. A bit more flour on the bench because we're starting to get a little bit sticky now, and roll it. And there we go. Round. And we are rolling it again to fit in our tin, so that's about there, I think. Again, this is lardy cake. It's not fine patisserie. So there we go. Now I've got to get that in the tin, but I'm not going to put it directly in the tin. I'm going to use a piece of baking parchment. If you trust your tin, if you trust the non-stick, great. You're a better person than me, I don't. I'm going to lift this onto there. I'm going to lift that without knocking my rolling pin off the thing into there. And I'm just going to push it out right into the corners. There. Like that. I'm going to leave it covered. I'm just going to cover it with a cloth for 10 minutes, and then in 10 minutes we'll come back. We're going to cut it in the tin, and then I'm going to leave it an hour or so to rise before we put it in the oven. So I shall see you in 10 minutes. Okay, it's just been 10 minutes, enough time to have a quick wash and tidy up and see how we're getting on. Just enough time to rest the dough just before we cut it, because we are going to cut it and then let it rise and then bake it. And the reason for this is that if we cut it, when it bakes, the lard inside is going to melt and it's going to go down to the bottom and form a really sort of lovely, sticky, gooey, toffee, caramelised layer with the sugar. That's the plan. So I've got this fancy gadget because I used to use this in the bakery, and it was really great to and quick and easy to do. 5 wheels, 4 gaps. And we kind of want to do this as 12 pieces. That'll be 12 very generous pieces in there. 12 is 3 by 4. So if I just move this here now, I'm not using this to cut. I'm using this to mark. And 3, well, we just quietly ignore one of the wheels at the side, and then we can get our 3 down there. I mean, it's just approximate. And at this point, I would pick up my bench knife and just chop it up. It's a good non-stick pan, and I'm not going to use a metal tool on it, so I'm just going to use a plastic scraper here along the guidelines, cut all the way through. That's it. It will need cutting before we when we take it out of the tin, because when we bake it in the oven it is going to join together a little bit again. So, but really this is just to allow the all of that lardy goodness to go through the whole thing. So I'll leave this now covered in a warm place for about an hour. It's got to rise again. It is a yeasted bread dough, so we're going to let it rise. And then I'll come back and we'll throw it in the oven. So I shall see you then. Okay, here we are, just over an hour. It's risen up, it's begun to fill out the tray, and it's getting a little bit soft on top. So we're going to pop it straight into the oven. Now I've set the temperature at 220 before. I'm just going to knock it down now to 200. It's going to take about half an hour. I'm going to check it after 20 minutes. If it's looking a bit too dark on top, which I don't think it will be, then I'll probably cover it with something, but always wise to check it, and then we'll leave it the last 10 minutes to finish off cooking. So I shall see you when it's cooked. Okay, we're ready. So it's out of the oven, hot and bubbly. First thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit of this syrup on it. It's very simple, it's a sugar syrup. I've just put a tiny bit of molasses in it, just give it a bit of colour, a bit extra flavour. There we go. Right, we're going to leave this in a tin for 10 minutes or maybe a little bit longer before we turn it out. It's very hot, so we'll let it cool down. Because we've got the baking parchment on it, we're not going to have any problems turning it out. But we really do need to let it cool down and set a little before we even think about turning it out. So I shall see you then. Okay, here we are at the moment of truth. We're going to turn it over. I'm just using the rack that fits inside here. Could potentially be quite messy at this point, but here we go. Oh yes! Not going to waste any of this lovely stuff, so let's just put that over there. Pull this out here. And there we have it. That's a lardy cake. So, can we cut into it? Have a look at a slice. It's still quite hot. Yeah, there we go. So we've got layers of nice soft bread dough, sweetened bread dough, layers of our fruit, and there's our nice crispy, sticky tasty caramelised bottom. Now we're going to let that cool completely, and this will all firm up, and then we'll come back to it and have a look at it once it's all cooled. Okay, well the rest of the household couldn't wait, and a piece appears to have mysteriously vanished from the middle of our lardy cake. But we're still here. We've survived the onslaught of hot bread and lard and all this lovely fruit and sugar. It is absolutely delicious. I've had a lot of fun making it. I hope you're going to give it a go. If you do, let me know. And I'll see you next time, and we'll make something else. Take care. Bye.